discovering your MS, and once you make that decision to become MS, right? We went through this. Because of those inherent things within MS, the high protocols, those type of situation, you start wanting to add things to it, right? You start wanting to have a protocol around all sorts of things, depending on the person.
I think it goes back to intentionality.
Yes,
it's that
you're wanting to live it with intention.
But I think that an MS relationship has an expectation of more intentionality and more negotiation. It's like,
which it does have inherently, but
than like a DS or something that is
correct,
more laissez-faire.
Yes, but where I find people kind of mess up with that is they start putting in protocols that are not serving them.
Yes, they do it for the aesthetic.
Yes,
which the aesthetic is absolutely fine, but like it's not going to feed you for very long.
It's not going to feed you for very long. You're going to get burnt out on that protocol.
Yeah.
Our example that we often use is I was a smoker.
Can I use a different example?
If you have another one, yeah, go for it.
So with Phoenix, remember the curtsy one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So my other partner Phoenix, he wanted to feel like when he got home that I was excited to see him because I was like on the couch or like watching TikTok or something. Reminder, he and I worked completely different schedules and he would not get home till like 11 o'clock at night. So like I am like winding down for bed at this point.
I would like to use one from our relationship, not one from your past relationship.
That's fine. We can do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And that one, the easiest one for that is the cigarette.
Sure. But I used to have to curtsy.
Yeah, you used to have to curtsy, and that wasn't serving you or serving him. It was weird, and
it was painful and uncomfortable, and it was just for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So it didn't last very long.
But a protocol that is often, especially with anybody that's a smoker, is lighting the cigarette, right?
Not cigar service, because that has like tradition and like
and I love
protocol,
that.
And that's a whole different thing.
I love that because that's a show at that point, right?
But But I think that you would feel equally annoyed if you were like a regular cigar smoker.
Yeah, I'm an occasional, couple times a month type.
But that
but cigarettes, I was a daily smoker and was a multi-pack a day smoker.
Yes.
Right? And so I have my own traditions built in with that.
Your own self protocols and rituals.
My own self protocols and rituals with that.
Yeah.
And my own inherent things in it that I like, right? So one of the protocols that we put in place was that you would light my cigarette whenever we were around each other.
We didn't live together at the time.
And even when we lived together.
Yeah.
And it quickly became
You light my first cigarette.
It quickly became a kind of an annoyance because I would chain smoke, especially if I was like doing something or we were talking, and I would just like not even think about it.
Yep.
At first, not even think about it. Like just pick up another one and go. Right. You are feeling that I stole your job.
Oh yeah, no, it built resentment.
Yeah, it can build resentment because I'm not allowing you to do the protocol that I put in place.
Yes, and I told you about how I was not feeling like. I communicated, because no inside thoughts, right? I communicated, hey, you're taking my job.
Yeah.
And I am feeling really, really invalidated right now. And you are way too wrapped up in the fact that you need a cigarette right now. And so like for a long time, you weren't really hearing me.
Well,
and you didn't replace that protocol for a while.
Yeah, but for me, it was like, it's just a fucking cigarette. Like
it didn't mean as much to you.
It didn't mean as much as it did to you. And then it went to, okay, you light my first one.
Yep.
Okay.
Then we adapted it and we tried to change it to where I lit his first cigarette instead of everyone.
And then, I don't remember what it was specifically, but
I couldn't get the lighter lit.
You couldn't get the lighter lit. I was stressed out of my freaking head.
Yeah.
And I was like, just give me the fucking cigarette.
Yep.
And I just did it. And you got dejected and you were very upset.
Oh, yeah, no. I went to go do a sob in the corner.
Yeah. And for me, it was like, it's a fucking cigarette, right? Like, that's how I'm feeling. Like, it's just a fucking cigarette. I do this all the fucking time. I also really enjoy that first puff.
Yeah.
Like, I like that first hit, especially whenever I'm wound up, right? Like, that's that ritual of, okay, deep breath, right? We ended up doing away with that because it wasn't serving us.
Yes. But it would have been a lot better if we had talked about it before he took the job. Correct. Of like, hey, this isn't serving me and I would like to replace it with this. Yeah. If you had come at it with like, the same intentionality or like the same feeling that I had of like, she feels really valuable when she does this. And if I take this from her, she's not going to feel as valuable because we had a whole conversation about it. So like, if you're going to modify your protocols,
you need to have
talk to your partner about why you're modifying them. Don't just take their job.
But what I'm getting to that is you are going to end up doing that.
Yes. Do it.
You are going
do it intentionally.
No, you are going to take their job
Mm-hmm.
because one of you does not have as much value in it as the other.
Mm-hmm.
This was a thing with me and Lily.
Yeah.
Lily wanted me to write in a journal.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to do that. That does not serve a purpose for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't do it. And she'd be like, well, why haven't you written in your journal? I was like, I don't have the time or the spoons to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's not serving a purpose. I don't have a prompt. I'm not a daily journal person.
Yeah.
And sitting down to fucking write whenever I could be watching TV, no thanks. Or I could be decompressing somewhere else, no thanks. Or I could be practicing fire, no thanks. Like, I'd rather be doing something than sitting down and writing in a journal. That became a point of contention for us for a little while until we developed a different protocol of, instead of journaling, we're going to sit down and talk for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that got the same aspect that she wanted, where she wanted to have that inner working thought connection thing with me on what my thoughts and feelings
That's a lot
were.
of the time why slaves are made to journal, is because they want the inner workings of thought on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had you do that for a little bit, but I gave you specific prompts.
You did.
And
Or you maybe read a book and then write about it.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I
You didn't give me this open-ended question.
having no direction, I know drove me fucking nuts. And
Yeah.
so I transferred that over to you. It was like, okay, you're off. I'm at work.
Well, think about it like a multiple choice question versus like an open-ended question on a
Yeah.
test. One of those is going to require a lot more time and energy
Correct.
than like having these sort of like outlined, these could be the answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so it was like, read this book. I've read it. I'm very curious what your thoughts are on this aspect, right? And then we would talk about it. You did that with like one of your scenes that you wanted to do. I had it in a specific category so that I could then read it later.
It had intentionality.
Yes, it wasn't just open-ended.
Yeah.
I think that is important for people to remember whenever they're making their protocols.
Yes.
You need to have them with intention. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to make protocols that have no intentionality in them.
Yes. And like,
Doesn't mean that you're a failure.
and like my thought process on this is like, don't add too much too quickly because you're setting yourself up for failure. So like Beast and Echo, they started with like, I think like 35 or 40 rules or something. And then Echo would break one just to test and see if Beast remembered which one it was.
Yep.
And so because he had to tell her, oh, you've broken rule number blah, blah, blah. And she would break them. And then he'd be like, you've broken rule number 31. And she's like, that's rule number 37.
Yeah, that type of situation. Yeah.
And it's like, you don't even know the protocol, so why the fuck should I? And so like our kind of running rule is like, don't do more than like 3 at a time. Start with 3, figure out if that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, like readdress it, reassess it. But like give it time. Yeah. It's going to be uncomfortable at first.
Your
like,
habit
don't
building.
Just exactly. I think they say it takes like
21 days.
21 days to build a habit.
Yep.
So like if you're going to do a daily protocol, give it at least 3 weeks.
Yep, give it at least 3 weeks.
And then check in at the end of the month.
Also, don't be afraid to do away with protocols that aren't serving you anymore, even though you've been doing them for a long time.
Mm-hmm. If it has become a habit and not intentional, it needs to either be reassessed and like revamped in some way, or it needs to be completely gotten rid of.
Basically, it's the for us. It's the don't become stagnant rule. That is one of our like overarching find comfort in discomfort.
Yes, be constantly moving forward to be better. Yes,
don't become stagnant. One of the things that we got stagnant on was coffee.
I would say the consistent making of the coffee, but like every single time I make your coffee, it is intentional.
Now,
I do not make your coffee on a consistent basis.
Correct, because you used to. You used to make it for me every day.
I used to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yep.
to make you coffee because you were going to work at 5:30.
Yep.
I didn't have work until 8.
Yep.
So I'd wake up 2 hours early,
Yep.
and then I'm just like, I can't go back to bed now.
Yeah. And it started causing issues.
It was a point of contention.
It became a point of contention because we were staying up till late, and then you're having to get up.
Yeah,
early,
it was like midnight, and I was waking up at 5:30, and it's like you can run on like these 2 hours of sleep. I cannot.
Correct, but it became a point of contention. But then even like I occasionally bring it. I now tell you whenever I want coffee. We adjusted it to where I want coffee, but I only do it maybe 2-3 times a week, maybe. Yeah.
Recently more because you've been working from home, and like sometimes, like I make your coffee pretty much every weekend.
Yes,
at least one day on the weekend.
At least one day on the weekend, you make me coffee. But also sometimes I make coffee for you.
Sometimes, yeah.
And that's not taking your job.
No, because for me, what is important about making the coffee is not necessarily the coffee.
Yes,
it's the love and intention that I put into it, and so like. I know exactly how you take your coffee. I know exactly how many Splendas that you put in it. I know exactly the cream to coffee ratio. Like becoming an expert in my partner's desires is what makes me a slave.
Yeah.
It's that I want to be a subject matter expert in everything that makes you happy.
Yeah. And we had the same thing with the espresso. You know, we got the espresso machine. You taught me how to use it. And I occasionally make it for both of us. In my opinion, you make it better. But that's just because you become subject matter experts in those things. There's a reason we have 3 freaking coffee makers.
It's true. It's based on the amount of spoons that I have that day. But what I was going to say about going back to your coffee is like the intentionality that I put into it is like for every packet of Splenda, I put like I am devoted to you.
Yeah.
I am this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm like intentionality for the day.
You
it's
have
like
your own
I'm
ritual
manifesting the coffee. Yeah. Like I manifest our day in the coffee.
Yeah. And that's not something that I told you to do. That was something that you put into it. Something that I told you to do was count how many chains were in your collar. Do you know how many?
How many chains?
How many links? Remember whenever I told you to count how many links were in your collar?
Yes, but I didn't understand that question.
Do you know how many are in there?
Are you talking about individual rings?
Yes.
No.
You don't?
No.
Do you know how many links as far as like sections? Because whenever I made
Do you mean
collar,
braids?
So the
Because like I never actually understood this,
section.
and I've asked you multiple times. Are you going to explain it now after 3 years? Okay.
Yeah. So you can feel a gap as you work it.
Oh, you can?
You can feel a gap.
Oh,
you can feel
okay.
a specific gap. It's about every quarter of an inch.
Okay.
That is a link.
Oh,
Okay.
That was not what I was defining as a link.
Whenever
I thought it meant rings. I was like, how am I supposed to count how many rings are in this?
that would be very difficult for you to do.
That's why I have failed the last 3 years.
That's fair.
Welcome to
There we go.
welcome to our relationship. I have literally felt like a failure for 3 years because you told me to do something, and I was like, I misunderstood.
Misunderstood.
Right? Because like a link to someone that doesn't do chainmail is like these little tiny rings, and it's like
Each individual ring.
you've done this as a sadistic situation. I will never figure this out.
Yeah.
I could take it off and take it apart, but that would be breaking so many other rules.
Oh, so many other rules. But whenever I made your collar, I put intention into it. I made your collar.
You did. You finished it on my neck.
I did. I finished it on your neck.
It goes all the way around,
All the
and
way
it
around.
has no, like a lot of people have locks that can be removed.
Yep. You do
Mine
not.
would have to be broken.
I have to break that collar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I may upgrade you at some point, but I haven't yet. Also, I thought about putting that on a swivel, specifically the pendant.
Yeah, I know. So that it didn't move.
So that it
Stayed
could
flat.
rotate. It
Yeah.
could rotate while the chain itself rotated.
So it stayed flat.
But I like adjusting it. I like whenever it flips because then I reach over and adjust it, and that's intentional. I have the slip rings for it to just roll. I'm not putting them on there.
No, because it gets like it flips over like this and gets all like fucky.
Yeah, and I just reach over,
And then he
twist
reaches over and just goes
it, twist it,
and twists it and
gets to fall in place.
Gets it to fall into place.
Yeah,
Just like he twists me and I fall into place.
yeah. I like twisting you.
Okay, but like now tell me, I need to know how many links are in my collar. But now I know how to.
Now you know how to figure it out.
Maybe.
You can at least get some.
This is difficult.
If you get close, I'll tell you.
Okay.